This is the unfiltered truth about entrepreneurship. Raw, no BS, no sugarcoating. Welcome to Entrepreneur Intel. I'm your host, Wes Matthews. Each episode, we'll learn from experienced founders and uncover the top 5% learnings that led to their success in all things personal, family, and business. This show is sponsored by Stealth Consulting, delivering clear marketing strategies, ROI, and no surprises. So I'm super excited today. I want to introduce today's guest. So he has 25 years in corporate, fourth year as an entrepreneur. So 15 of those corporate years, he was with WOW, covering over 10 states and 17 markets with a staff of about 250, responsible for about 33 million a year. Correct me if I'm wrong. But now, what I'm super excited to dive into is Mike Harvey is disrupting the roofing market. And today he is a franchisor and also a franchisee of his own company. I think he's got 2 of his own locations, 11 overall, but Mike Harvey, welcome.
Well, thank you, Wes. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and share this experience with all your listeners.
Well, I love home services. The last 20 years of my life, I've spent with home service type companies. I think what's really interesting about you, and I'm really excited to dive into your story because to me, as an outsider, an entrepreneur, you're disrupting the roofing market. Like when you and I first talked, I'm like, hey, what's the roofing resource? When you told me, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Like that's not normal. But my entrepreneur brain starts to go. So before we kind of dive in, why don't you just explain what it is you do, and then we can kind of start there and kind of work backwards if that's okay.
Yeah. So what the roof resource does is, we simplified the roof buying process for a homeowner. So we made it virtual. We give them selection. We give them cost for the whole process. And, they can get a roof within 7 to 10 days. We when I say that, we've oversimplified that process. The traditional way, I think everyone understands today, what that traditional picture would look like if someone needs to go get a roof, and the roof resource steps in, handles everything for a homeowner. We're that consultant. I've been called the quarterback, of the whole project for the homeowner. And we just deliver an at-cost experience to a homeowner.
So, typical home in America, I don't even know what that looks like square footage wise, or how much roof, what's a normal cost for somebody that wants a roof?
Yeah. So let's just take the Detroit market. And so the Detroit market, we go off of Remodeling Magazine, which is costversusvalue.com. It is a national publication and actually tells and shares with homeowners what that market price is for a roof. And so they always use a standard 30 square roof. 30 squares is equivalent to about 3,000 squares. And here in the Detroit market, the average cost to replace a 30 square roof is $1,062. So you're looking at just over $30,000 to replace a roof that's 30 squares or about 3,000 square feet. And that's where in the industry today, that's where, roofing companies can start a homeowner out at or more.
That's a lot of money, right? So I'm a homeowner. I'm a fairly smart guy, I think. I don't even know if I would need a roof. So I'm thinking if I call a roofing company traditionally, they're going to come out and be like, oh, this is awesome. How do I even know that I need a roof, right? Because if I'm going direct to a roofing company, they want to sell me a roof, right?
You are absolutely correct. And so first thing that happens when we get a homeowner that calls us and says, I'm not sure if I need a roof, we immediately direct them to our partners, which are home inspection companies that provide a roof inspection. It's objective, and that is the key. They're not there to sell them a roof. They're not there to sell them anything. And they're going to give them, hey, you've got 5 to 7 more years or 7 to 10 more years of life, or they'll let them know the term end of life. Your roof is end of life. I mean, the shingles are curling. You've got a lot of granular loss. And the homeowner's going to know, hey, did I just purchase this home 10 years ago? Was the roof installed 10 years prior? I'm about 20 years into this roof. It's starting to look like it's going to be end of life. And then, of course, there's potential leaks. So that's what we do. The average homeowner, though, Wes, thinks I might need it, and then they see something on TV or the radio, get a 17.3 inspection. And that just gets roofing people all excited because they now know roofing is on Wes's mind. He's thinking of getting a new roof, and it's the time to strike is now. So
if I went and got a quote, right, for like a 3,000 square foot home and I got 3 quotes, are they going to be like all over the place? Like the normal roofing company, like one's going to be 60 grand, one's going to be 20, one's going to be 40. Where does the go ahead? Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Yes. So yeah, you are absolutely right. You're going to get 3 different quotes from 3 different roofing companies, 3 different types of materials that are going to be presented to you. You're going to have someone, and the structure doesn't change. So keep that in mind. You're going to have someone say, it's $32,000, but Wes, if we put a yard sign in and if we can promote it on your social media, we'll knock off $2,500 or $3,000 to sign today. You're going to be like, nope, I'm getting 2 more estimates. Now, somebody else comes in and they're going to say, who came? You'll probably keep your cards to you and not tell them who.
Right.
They're going to know somebody else gave you a proposal. And the key question, and I always share this with any podcast that I'm on or any homeowners, they're always going to give you that high price. And they're going to ask the question, Wes, how does that compare to the budget you were looking to spend? And if you're like, that's about right, they know they got you. If you're like, it's too much, then they know they got to drop a little bit. But you are going to get 3 different prices, 3 different price points. And at that market price that I shared earlier, at that 1,062, 30 squares of 30,000, that's where they're going to start you at, or a little higher. And there's a lot of room for them to drop. You might get someone that'll come down to 22,000. You'll think, wow, that's a great price. You'll be at 25, you'll be at 23, and someone will say, I'm going to throw in XYZ. And that's the world today, nationally, everywhere.
So I get 3 quotes. They're all over the place. They're price conditioning me. And I contact the roof resource. What happens?
So you contact the roof resource. We talk with you. You're thinking that the roof needs to be replaced. You're at that place where I'm going to get a new roof. We run a roof report. We use the roofing technology. We then schedule a Zoom call with you on your availability whenever you want that to happen. The next day we can have it ready within 24 hours, and it's a 20-minute Zoom. We get on the Zoom with you. We show you the schematic of your home. We show you the roof report. And these are not Google photos. This is actually what we call roof facts. We go through all of that with you. And then we share with you your proposal. And Wes, we lead with the price. Like, the price is right up front. We're not here to build the value and get your buy-in to then get to the price, because it's a cost price. And we'll show you, hey, your price is, $14,900, $62,000, $22,000 compared to the market retail price of $30,000, what have you, so 50% less. And then we'll itemize everything for you. So you'll get to see a flat fee, materials, labor, dumpster, permit, down to the penny. And that's what we give our homeowners.
So you're basically coming in and just chopping that in half.
Yeah, there's no games. We've said, and we tried to figure out all these different messages. There's no games, no gimmicks, no special cash rate. I like to tell customers and people when I meet with, if you're family, because this was all built on that purpose of family. If you were my brother and you said, Mike, I need a roof, I'd say, okay, Wes, pick whatever you want out. You're getting cost. That's the same premise that we give everywhere nationally.
So I want to touch on, you were with WOW as a cable for a very long time, for 15 years, yeah. Right? Managed a quite, what happened for you to make a switch from a 15-year career at WOW in a corporate world to, I'm going to go off and create the roof resource?
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that catalyst. Did you get burned on a roof, or what happened?
No. So I made the transition out of WOW, leadership changes, and I did a year contract with AT&T and helping out AT&T stores. And then I had someone approach me throughout that last probably 6 months of my contract with AT&T say, do you want to get into roofing? Roofing, there's a lot of money involved in roofing. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm afraid of heights. It's not my cup of tea. I don't care how much money is involved. It's just not my deal. And continued to contact me. And I was in the midst of setting up my own consulting company because I was just going to go into sales consulting and provide what I did for corporate, for for myself, my own business. And I took my own uh, message that I give everybody else. Hey, go get uncomfortable. Go learn something. That's where you're going to grow. And so I call them up and I'm like, hey, let's do a partnership. I don't know what I don't know. But one thing that I did know, Wes, is the home. I knew the table. I knew the dynamic because I trained that for 15 years. I knew consumers. Excuse me. So we went out in 3 weeks and we made $185,000. At that, I knew that I was shocked, quite honestly, that it was that easy. And so, I didn't know anything about roofing, by the way. I didn't know what fascia board was, trip edge.
You're still afraid of heights.
Afraid of heights, not getting up on roofs. I would never go up. And so over the course of the 9 months, though, I just learned that I thought I was going to scale this business and be different. How can I be different? Because this industry is, I didn't care for it. You can make a lot of money in it. And so I had a moment where I went to a homeowner in Grosse Pointe Woods and teachers and 2 kids and sold them a roof for $14,000, gave them a today price of $13,500. And they were pulling out $14,000 out of their 401k. And for me to do labor, materials, dumpster, permit, $6,200. So I didn't make $1,000 or $2,000. I put $7,000 into our business, into my pocket. And I was walking off the porch and they were very happy. And I just stopped and I was like, this isn't right. Like, I just had that moment of, I don't feel good about what I'm doing. But the key here, Wes, was the very next 2 days, I was installing my grandmother's home and my brother's home. And I stood out in front of my grandmother's home and I looked at the roof and the installation's happening and I coordinated it all. And I looked down the street and I'm like, this would be really cool if I could just give kind of cost to everybody. Like just take out the 800-pound elephant. And that was that moment where 2 days later, I left the partnership and I spent the next 4.5 months to model out the roof resource.
Which is really cool because to me, like that's like the true entrepreneur passion, right? Like it was that fire, that thing that happened to you. But now the 800-pound gorilla, though, you're like, you got to make some money or you got to set some type of boundary for yourself. So how did you now think about, well, how do you monetize that appropriately in a way that you felt was, you can still be passionate, yet provide a good service, but still like make a living, right?
Yeah. And so that was in the beginning too. I can tell you that, I charged a fee and really my first probably 6 months, I almost gave away my service. I was just proving to people that I could deliver because I was 10,000, 15,000, 7. People were like, wait a minute, you're not even in the playground. You're at $6,800 and I'm getting $15,000 and $20,000 quotes.
Did your partner think you were crazy? Like,
oh,
you want to leave this relationship and we're printing money hand over fist, or like, what's wrong with you, Mike?
He actually said, he goes, he's like, you don't like making money. He goes, you're afraid of profit. And I said, no. I said, the difference is that it's important how I make it. The how is more important than the what to me. And so giving away the business was figuring out what this flat fee is going to be and how would I incorporate that. And so that first year, it was not only the service that I was providing, the intrinsic part of it was that there was so much more value to the homeowner that they were able to start, the pool, the trips to the family, the gutters. I would get, Renewal by Anderson sales reps would call me up and say, hey, can you help out this customer of mine because they need windows, but they're trying to get a roof and the price is at $25,000. And I'm like, yeah, well, we can go ahead and do that roof for 14. And they're like, oh my God, then they can use that other 10 and they can move it into their windows and they could close deals. And that was happening. And so it started to become more of just hey, I'm going to do your roof. It was really about what you're able to do with the money that you're saving. And that to me was a much bigger driver, to really start to think of the company on a bigger scale, because until we come into that community or until we come into that state, all those homeowners are left with the traditional way of getting a roof.
So you have that next challenge, right? As I see it, is like, okay, how do you find the right roofing companies to fulfill the work with your vision, right? I'm assuming that you have to hire the vendors and your general contracting, so to speak. So how did you monetize that, or how did you figure that out for yourself that like fit your
Yeah.
model? 'Cause I want to tie that in with the next question. Is your partner still in roofing?
Yeah. 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 So matter of fact, he's actually one of our, what I call the preferred roofing network. So I created the preferred roofing network, and you have to be vetted 10 years in the roofing industry, no issues, no financial constraints, no bankruptcies, high quality installation work, licensed, insured, workers' comp, all that. And he's now doing work for us because now he's like, oh my God, there's a lot of work here. I can be one of those companies. And so what I ended up doing is, because of the volume in roofing that we do on the labor side, and it's one of the things too, Wes, that I learned when I was in my days at WOW. We were on the sales division, and then there was the technicians. And the technicians respectfully just want to go hang the cable, install the cable. They don't want to sell.
Yep.
But they did amazing work, gaffing the poles when it's, 2 degrees outside and stringing cable up and all of that. And I said, the same thing that happens here. Roofers want to roof. They want to get out there when they want to work 7 days a week. They want to install roofs. It's an amazing trade that they do. They don't want to sell. They don't want to go into the home and sit down and go through all the selling part. And so what I've been able to do with the Roof Resource is capitalize on the strengths of roofing companies that just want to work 7 days a week. But what's different is that with us, cash flow is never an issue, because when the roof is done, they're paid immediately, which in the standard traditional roofing world, it's maybe 7 days out, 14 days out, 21 days out, and they have to worry about their cash flows. And with us, that's never an issue. So attracting high quality roofing companies to handle the installations, they look at us as a pipeline for cash flow.
Yeah. Help me understand that a little bit. So is it a roofing company would rely on you for like 25% of the business? Because my assumption is they're not saving the manatee. They need to make a lot of money on the roofs they sell direct, but the leads that are coming in that they're fulfilling for you, did that offset slow time for them? Or like, how do they justify charging this and then hooking up with you and charging this?
Yeah. So, out of respect to all of the big roofing companies that are here in Detroit, I won't name their names. They actually are reaching out to the companies that are in our preferred roofing network to do their installations. So those big companies, respectfully, that are in the Detroit market, they're not doing any of our roofs, because they're trying to sell it at 12 and 1,400 a square, 1,000, and we're half of that. The companies that are the licensed insured that do high quality work, they're also using them. And so these are the unsung heroes that do all the high quality work that are licensed. You just don't see them out on Google with their 4.7, because they're not like the Roof Resource at 4.9, or when you go into Roofing Near Me and you have all the big names come up, that's not none of them, because that's the actual sales and marketing engine of that company.
So they're charging here and you're charging here.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're here.
They're already doing the labor anyway. They're not
so
reaping any of that profit because that's being chewed up by the other company.
Right. And so in the roofing world, about 50% of the labor rate is earned by the licensed roofer. And so however they pay their teams out, but it all comes down to volume. And that's something that I learned when I was the traditional roofing company, is that they always needed work. And if they didn't get enough work, their teams would start to become transient. Like they would lose 3 or 4 workers to go over here because people want to work and they want to get paid. And with this model, now we can say, hey, if you want to do 5 or 10 roofs for us a month, that potentially could be $40,000 to $50,000 of cash flow for your business. And all you have to do, and this is what we'd say, Wes, is you just have to show up to the concert and do a great job. Like the materials are there, the dumpster's there, the money is waiting. You just have to do a great install.
So so from the time you got in the traditional to like now you've tested the market, you said you were literally giving it away for 6 months to either prove it to the customer, but I would say you're probably proving it to yourself.
Oh,
Right. A lot of people saying, I don't believe you, but if that's what you're going to do it, have some happy customers. Right. Like what was that time frame? 2 to 3 years or?
So in March of 21 is when I had my very first customer. And then over the next 6 months, as I continued to grow, I'm like, hey, I need support. I need an operations person. I plugged in an operations person on a part-time basis who I actually went to her in January of 21 and I said, hey, I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to do cost for, roofs, and it's all virtual and it's different. And, but someone who's been by my side for so long, and she's like, I'll quit my job and I'm in. Like, you just tell me when. And summer, she came on part-time and was able to handle the whole operations side. And then we doubled our volume. I started to have franchise companies reach out and say, hey, I see what you're doing. Would you be interested? And I'm like, no, because this is too new and I'm still figuring things out. But it was at that point, I really started to look at my business as a bigger business, Wes. And that's when I started looking at the scalability of it, the uniformity of it, and how I can set this up for potential scale in the next couple of years. So
you had people reaching to you saying franchise, like that wasn't something you sat in your office and kind of concocted. So now you're like, what made it from, right now is not a good time. This is a half-baked idea and I'm testing, to now you have 11 locations and now you have 2 of them.
Yeah. I, at the end of 21, I drove out and I met with, the CEO of iFranchise Group. And at that point, I knew that this was something big. He's like, Mike, as soon as you start franchising, you have 3 years. And at that 3-year mark, that's when other roofing companies are going to recognize your model. They need to make the change. And he goes, in 5 years, they won't be in business because you'll run everybody out of business because, we're the, I might've said this, Wes, but like we're the Airbnb of roofing. We don't own the manufacturers. We don't own the material. We don't own the roofing companies. We just put it all together and we save everybody money. And so at that moment, okay, I knew that I had something. They wanted to franchise. I said, no, I'm going to wait. And it was August of 22 when I signed with SMB to build the franchise model over the next 10 months.
So I have a really good friend by the name of Josh Ligner. I've actually had him on the podcast. Guy's a brilliant guy, really talented speaker. And I heard him speak last fall, and he was talking about this concept. Like, he's built massive companies, and he's like, if you look at a problem, think of it like it's called a judo flip, like literally flipping that idea upside down on its head. And like, I look at what you did. That's what resonated so well with me when I first met you, because I'm like, man, you disrupted the roof, like you Airbnb the roofing market, right? Like,
yes.
But other people that are in whatever industry or they're entrepreneurs, how did you overcome that? Like, I just got a 30,000 quote, a 25, you're showing up to my door virtually and you're telling me you're going to do it for $8,000 or whatever the fee is. Like, it's too good to be true, Mike. Like, you seem like a nice guy. I like your logo, but COVID's been rough on me and my family. Like, it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah. And that was really the first year and even the second year. I mean, at the end, I get it. I would tell everyone that, hey, please, you want to call these customers that were the 1st, 2nd, 15th, and 20th. You can call them and they'll tell you they went right through this process. For me, it wasn't even about the fee. It was just that I had to like save them. And I would kind of take it personal if I went with somebody else and I'm like, how could they do and spend $7,000 more? And they're not even getting the same thing. And I had to stop taking it personally. But that was a big challenge, was that the disparity in price was thousands. I still today, Wes, I can still see a quote that's 70,000 and 40,000 and we're at 21,000.
That's crazy.
Yes. And it's today, in today's world.
So have you thought about disrupting any other industries like that? Like, is it the roof
Yes.
resource? Is it like, what's next? Like, what's on your plate?
Yeah. So, we can do windows. And so, windows is, we started modeling that. We're going to do, gutters and gutter guards because we can do that as well. And the reason for that, Wes, is that when you start your home is the number one most expensive investment that you make
Mhm.
as we all get up, as we all grow up, right?
Right.
The roof becomes that second big purchase. And when we come in and be able to provide this service and it's installed and it's great and we save money, we do become that other resource now. And I've phone calls of, hey, do you have a preferred cement company? Who does gutters? Who does windows? Do you have a siding company? Because we've truly have earned the trust. We've earned that trust. And so we can do those, but I will tell you, we get asked that a lot. And I'm like, hey, we're maniacally focused right now, just roof off, roof out. That's our lane, franchise the model out. We can plug in these other verticals, but there's so much for us to do with residential roofing, all the storm chasers out there, helping the insurance companies reduce their loss ratios by hundreds of millions of dollars. There's a lot to do.
Can I ask a favor? Can you take out Angie's list for me? Uh, I feel like my experience, right? Like they have contractors compete, they sell them leads, and then it's just like the wild, wild west, right?
Right.
I think they
Your phone
rebranded
blows up.
under a company called Handy. I hired them to put a grill together, and it was like the biggest disaster. They kind of they're trying to create this like Uber of handy services, but it's kind of a disaster.
Yeah.
Uh,
Those are the experiences that homeowners, I mean, you grow up and our parents say, get 3 quotes and that's normal. Or you go to Angie's List or you go to Home Advisor and battle for your business, but the customer experience is so important to me. And that's another piece that I pulled out of my corporate career is building this company with the homeowner having a seat at the table. How is this going to affect them? Why would they like this Zoom meeting? Why would they like this proposal? What do they want to see in the proposal first? And that's how we've modeled out the business.
so as an entrepreneur, right? Like how do you sort of protect that? Or like you said, even the roofing, there's like the iFranchise CEO said, hey, there's kind of a shelf life here, right? So
Mhm.
people are turning like, how do you protect that within the organization? Cause like, somebody comes up and says, well, maybe I'll add a little bit more fee and start competing. Or what is it, the process IP that you guys have that a franchise is like, hey, I don't have time to build out process. You already have the credibility, the logo, the process, the website. I'd rather
Right.
piggyback on this and just go. Or is it that IP?
Yeah. So it's the IP, our own custom CRM that we've wireframed. And so that whole back end, because the interaction is the interaction. But there's a lot that goes in. It's kind of like that iceberg. Roof resource. Here it is, but it's the
Oh,
iceberg
it's so
underneath
simple.
that.
It's just roofs at a discount, right?
Right. No, right. It's just, hey, anybody could do it,
Right.
right? But there's all the agreements and the legal agreements and the relationships that we put together. So as a franchise, we bring all of this to a potential franchisee and they get to do it right from their home. I mean, then they get to go out and, we were talking with someone on the west side of the state today, Wes, and I said, you walk into a networking event or you go into a school or you meet with your church and we are fundamentally different than any other roofing company nationally. And I go, and that's why they want to partner with you. That's why they want to put you in front of the congregation, the members, the families at the school, because there's a massive savings there. It's a different, when I'm out and people see the roof resource, hey, you have a roofing company? Yeah, we're in the Airbnb of Roofing, you get a roofing cost. And they're like, oh my God, it's not like I'm Smith Roofing and,
Do,
we come
do,
over.
do you have like sales people banging at your door? Is it a more like an operator led type of business, right? Is it who's buying the franchise are sort of going to lead sales and kind of take care of everything? Or like, to me, it sounds like, man, my experience is home services and sales, like I would be all in on selling your product because it's
Well,
shooting from the
correct.
barrel, right?
Right. You would be that front facing franchisee, because you understand that interaction and customer dynamic. And, you're presenting the roof resource and the roof reports and the proposals. And then, that's working in the business. Working on the business is going out and pressing the flesh and let it, the realtors who love us because they pull up to the house, they're about to list and they see the roof is problematic. They need roof facts right away. That insurance agent hey, that customer can't get insurance on their home or it's going to cancel in 60 days because we got to put a roof on. They need roof facts and we can have that roof at cost in 7 to 10 days. So when you go into these meetings and you're out there, it is a service. And so I always tell people, we don't sell roofs. I mean, it's a service that we just want everyone to know about.
If I need a side gig one day, I think I know where I'm going. So like from a marketing perspective, like that's my wheelhouse, right? And like, what works the best for you, right? Like you have a new thing in the industry. It doesn't really exist. You're kind of new to the market. Like, how do you stand out outside of like I like to say like the guerrilla marketing where you're out there shaking hands, kissing babies and finding people at the gas station. But like, how do you position your company to get those right opportunities? Is there anything unique?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously the digital play, the social media, the Facebook posts, your SEO, your local Google My Business, and, our offer, 50% less than retail. Click here, get a free quote in 24 hours. I mean, that has really resonated, with potential homeowners. I can tell you that the organic growth of just the referral from, now we get referred from home inspection companies that we've never heard of before, but they've heard of us and we call it be the hero. They can be the hero and recommend their homeowner to call us after they've gotten a quote from somebody else. And it's, retail and we come in at half. And so that home inspection company becomes a hero because they've referred us. So digital, SEO, organic, Google My Business, some of the traditional, we're not heavy dollar spend there because of that relationship building and being that organic growth from referrals from existing customers. I can't tell you. I mean, I had this year, matter of fact, my very first customer, Pat, in March of 21, called me up and said, "Hey, I'm here in Plymouth, and my neighbor needs a roof, and I thought of you." I mean, you don't get that, you don't.
Because then Pat's the hero, right? Because they're getting quotes for like 30 G's and they're like, you just saved me 15 grand. Beers on me all summer, right? Like, you're my hero.
You just said it, and that just gives me goosebumps because it's like, that's right. Like, we didn't save somebody $500. We saved them 5,000 or 10,000. That's take your family on vacation, pay for a semester of college, for your daughter or your son, or do, you know what I mean? Those dollars can move mountains in families.
No, it's huge. I mean, I don't care at what stage of anybody is, whether they're here or here, 30 grand, 40 grand, like that's going to give anybody a little bit of heartburn, right? To pay for a roof. Like it's a roof. I haven't thought of my roof in years since I've talked to you. And all of a sudden I got to shell out all this dough. Well, I'm glad I met you because I feel like I've saved a ton of money already meeting you at some point. I'm sure there's some people that are going to hear this, but it's, what's next for the roof resource, right? Is it just, as an entrepreneur, you're super passionate about your craft, but how do you scale appropriately, or like, what's the 3-year vision of where you're going?
So, we're looking to, now we've just signed with IFPG, which is International Franchise Professional Group. There's over 750 brokers there that are franchise consultant brokers in FranServe. These are some of the 2 of the largest franchise brokerages in the country. And we're starting to get requests all over the country for the franchise. When I was vetting out different companies, they were like, who are you? Why have we not heard of you? The growth that you had organically, that's amazing. And and a franchise is 45,000 and they're like, that's too cheap. Respectfully, I think it's a very super fair price for a franchise that's no brick and mortar. But we're looking to grow and expand over the next, 36 months and be throughout about 300 units. And we also look to, have about 50 corporate locations. And things are evolving, Wes, for us that we're opening into this world of insurance. And again, this wasn't intended, but because of our cost model pricing, homeowners don't need to pay, and nor do insurance companies need to pay that Xactimate high dollar retail price for an average roof. That's $27,000. I just had a customer in Diamonddale with a very large insurance company they sent our way, and their Xactimate pricing was 18,000 plus. So they figured it would probably come in between 18 to 22,000. We completely installed a Certainty Landmark Pro. No, I'm sorry. It was an Owens Corning duration full system. If you wanted Onyx Black for $13,076, all in, everything done. And they were blown away, as in, hey, they've saved 6,000 to 8,000. So in the insurance world, it's a reduction of their loss ratios. And when you talk about loss ratios to insurance agents and owners, that is the key to their business. And roofing is some of the highest pricing in the industry. Storm chasing is becoming very big. People knocking on doors when there's hail and high wind. Homeowners don't know what they don't know. And so we're opening up these doors, and we really believe over the next 12 months that we will soon be partnering with some of the largest insurance companies in the country.
So I've been in startup mode the last year because I sold my company and now I'm doing something different. I would probably stroke 5 of those checks to not do what I just went through the last year, because it's a lot of, I forget how hard startup is. So the franchise, that's really appealing to me or other entrepreneurs. What is a realistic gross revenue on a franchise, right? If you have a guy that, hey, I'm kind of sick of working for this company. I'm super passionate about saving people money. This is a great concept. I'm going to put 40 to 60 hours a week in here and just kind of grind. What's a realistic opportunity?
So if in our first year in franchising, either someone is going to have an item 19 or there's no item 19. We did not have an item 19 because I didn't intend to franchise this. So my territory was a much larger area, and I wasn't going to issue out one territory in southeastern Michigan for 1.7 million households. And so the legalities of that question, Wes, keep me from saying really anything. It's the exploration that when potential franchisees come in, they take a look at our fee, they take a look at the infrastructure of what their expenses or the limited expenses are. They take a look at the fee. There's a couple other pieces that they get, and they start to run their numbers, and then they actually see what they're going to be able to do with it. And then they make that decision to become a franchisee.
Nice. No, that's great. Mike, what's couple things. One, if somebody wants to call you because their roof is probably, they need a roof and they're going to save some money, but also a franchise opportunity. I mean, I really appreciate just your share and how you just kind of thought of your business. And to me, it really that judo flip. I think it's a really big message for everybody. How can you take a look at your industry or what you're passionate about and disrupt it? Right. How can people get in contact with you? What's the
Yeah, so they can, if they're looking to, find out what their roof would be, they just go to the roofresource.com. Right on that main page there, they can fill out their information. It's submitted over to us, and they'll be contacted typically within one business day, but usually it's within an hour from one of, someone here at the corporate office or a franchisee. They will run their roof report, schedule a Zoom, and they'll know exactly what the cost to replace their roof is, typically within 24 to 48 hours, depending upon how soon they are. And then if they're looking to, if they're interested in franchising and learning more about it, they can do the same thing and just enter franchising, or they can shoot me an email directly, Mike@theroofresource.com.
Mike@theroofresource.com. Well, awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for your share. Super interesting. Wish you nothing but success. It's really cool what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share it with you, Wes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Thanks.
This has been another episode of Entrepreneur Intel. Thank you for joining us. For show notes or other episodes, please visit us at entrepreneurintel.com. Until next time.